The current wrestling landscape sees independent wrestling really exploding on the scene right now. Of course, we have companies like Ring of Honor and Impact Wrestling that have a little more of a television presence. But there are other companies as well. AAW, What Culture Pro Wrestling, Progress Wrestling in the UK. We've got places like Evolve. We've got CMLL down in Mexico, Lucha Underground. All of these companies, all of these huge talents that perform for significantly smaller audiences than the World Wrestling Entertainment does, yet they're putting on some of the best wrestling action in the world. That's why this episode, the Fro Wrestling Podcast, is looking at the top 10 talents that WWE needs to sign right now from the independent market. Coming in at number 10, former Ring of Honor star Donovan Dijak. Donovan Dijak has done everything there is to do to build an audience and a following in the independent world. He has performed for countless independent promotions all over North America, in Europe. He's been a huge factor in Ring of Honor programming, and when his contract was coming up for renewal, and they chose not to re-up, it was speculated that Donovan Dijak was headed directly to World Wrestling Entertainment. That did not happen. There's been some conversation about potential litigation if WWE contacts wrestlers prior to their contracts running out. So, WWE has kind of been put on hold here and has not brought Dijak in yet. He would bolster the NXT roster, the Cruiserweight division, or a main roster spot. He has that ability to get over in all of those respects. So it's only a matter of time before WWE swoops in and needs to go for Donovan Dijak. If not, Impact Wrestling could be a potential landing spot for this premier talent. Moving on to number 9, we're going to look at another person who made a huge splash in Ring of Honor, but also has been very successful in ICW, in Progress, in Evolve especially. If you want to see some premium matches, pull up some YouTube videos of Lio Rush. Lio Rush is a phenom. He is a high flyer. He's got a unique look, a great skill set, a great match that he puts on every time he steps through the ropes. I'm not trying to put him on the level with Shawn Michaels, but at the end of the day, Lio Rush shows the promise of a really big star in the future. WWE's Cruiserweight division right now is toiling in mediocrity. You can't tell one talent apart from another, and they rotate who get the wins every single week. No one has a streak of success other than Neville TJP. That's it. 2 talents on the whole card. This would be an opportunity to bring someone like Lio Rush in and really maximize his talents and bring some legitimacy to the Cruiserweight division. Coming in at number 8, we're looking at yet another independent star who's made a huge splash in multiple places. Fred Yehi. What a crazy, out of control talent. This guy has held championship gold all over the place. He's had matches that are 5-star quality with people like Matt Riddle. He's had matches with Donovan Dijak. He's had matches with Lio Rush. As a matter of fact, I would encourage you to go onto YouTube and look up Fred Yehi versus Lio Rush. They had a great match for Evolve that really, match of the year quality stuff. And he, again, is another talent that would really bolster that Cruiserweight division. So, if WWE is really looking to put some emphasis behind that division, you bring in someone like him. And at the end of the day, they're also trying to cultivate this United Kingdom division. This is someone who has also wrestled in the United Kingdom, has a solid following there, and could really bolster both programs. They have to go into some kind of acquisition mode if they want to foster both of these shows. This could be the opportunity. Coming in at number 7, another talent who is, synonymous with Ring of Honor fame, and we're talking about Kyle O'Reilly. His contract ran out with Ring of Honor back in December of 2016, and immediately everybody thought he's headed to NXT. It hasn't happened. It's 6 months later, we're still waiting. Kyle O'Reilly is long overdue for a debut on NXT. He's somebody who you could put into top profile feuds immediately. He could hang with people like Roderick Strong. He could go in there and he could put on a great match with someone like Bobby Roode or Hideo Itami. Kyle O'Reilly eventually would be the perfect addition to pose a threat to Neville in the Cruiserweight Championship, or even because of his technical skill set, go onto the main roster and challenge for either the United States or the Intercontinental Championship. Kyle O'Reilly, For me, one of the premier talents that WWE needs to target in the near future. Coming in at number 6, a somewhat controversial choice as we're looking at Matt Riddle. Matt Riddle, a former mixed martial artist who's come into the professional wrestling world and lit the world on fire. He hasn't stopped since he started. He puts on world-class matches with everybody he gets in the ring with. He's got the right kind of attitude. He's got a great look. He's got a great skill set. And he's clearly extremely athletic and has a lot to offer. I don't know exactly where WWE would fit him into their card because he does have a lot of growing to do. He hasn't had the opportunity to be seasoned. He's not a seasoned veteran. He's only been wrestling for a short period of time. But even in the short time he's been wrestling, he's made a huge impact. And this is one of those talents that if you're not careful, someplace like Impact Wrestling, Lucha Underground, they're going to look at someone like him because he's somebody they can market as a top draw for them. Whereas WWE probably would keep him in a mid-card status. But at the end of the day, he's a talent that WWE can't afford to let go to one of the rival promotions. Coming in at number 5, one of my absolute favorite wrestlers in all of the independent world, and now is a free agent. The rumors have already been out there that he's headed to WWE at some point. We're talking about Adam Cole. Former member of the Bullet Club, former 3-time Ring of Honor World Champion, somebody who really deserves a WrestleMania moment, an opportunity to debut right on the main roster. Forget going to NXT. I know a lot of people think that you have to go to NXT, and I'm not saying it wouldn't benefit him to go to NXT first. It probably would to get used to WWE's style, but he's such a huge personality, and he's got so much passion for the business and has demonstrated the ability to work with anybody. I could easily see him jumping in the ring with The Miz tomorrow night and putting on a world-class match. He's a legitimate threat to the Intercontinental Championship day one and eventually could be a threat to the world title. If we can see them book Finn Balor as the initial inaugural Universal Champion and now see him potentially go into a program with Brock Lesnar, there is no reason Adam Cole can't make it to the top of the mountain in World Wrestling Entertainment. Coming in at number 4, another talent that we've talked about at nausea. Someone who needs to make a debut with WWE at some time in the near future, and we are talking about New Japan Pro Wrestling's Kenny Omega. The cleaner needs to come to WWE because there are matches that have never happened in a WWE ring that the whole wrestling community is dying to see. Kenny Omega himself earlier this week spoke about how he has a match that he has to do at some point, and that's against AJ Styles. Well, AJ is only in one place, World Wrestling Entertainment. You could bring Kenny Omega in, and he would instantly pop any town that they showed up in, and he would have world-class matches with anybody on the roster. Finn Balor, AJ Styles, Shinsuke Nakamura, Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn. The list goes on and on. Kenny Omega can work with anybody. That 6-star quality match that he had at Wrestle Kingdom, he could be putting those on with other talents in World Wrestling Entertainment. It's time for WWE to make him a legitimate premium offer and get him under contract. He is somebody they can't afford to pass on any longer. Coming in at number 3, we're looking at one of the best talents that this wrestling world has to offer. One of the best high flyers, the most consistent high flyers, and most skilled technicians in the world today, and I'm talking about Will Ospreay. Will Ospreay has won the Best of Super Juniors already once before. He was in the finals this year, losing to Kushida, and now it's time for Will Ospreay to really take his place at the top of the food chain of the cruiserweight division in World Wrestling Entertainment. There is no better cruiserweight in the world. I understand that Kushida is talked about as being the best pound-for-pound wrestler in the world, but Will Ospreay is the apex of pound-for-pound wrestlers. He's a high flyer. He can hit power moves. He can hit these crazy acrobatic dives and flips, and I almost love the drama of bringing him to WWE and letting him get in the ring one time with Randy Orton. Will Ospreay needs a run in WWE sooner rather than later. Coming in at number 2, when you talk about high flyers and you talk about Will Ospreay, there is no way you can finish that conversation without talking about Ricochet. Ricochet has never stepped foot in a WWE ring, and it is long overdue. He is one of the most savvy, most well-rounded, and most experienced talents in the independent circuit today. He is a phenom. If anybody watched the match he had with Will Ospreay last year, you've seen what he can do in the ring. If you've watched Lucha Underground and seen Prince Puma, that's Ricochet. If you go back to New Japan Pro Wrestling and watch the matches he put on with people like Kushida, Kota Ibushi, Tomohiro Ishii, different wrestlers in New Japan who he was able to work with and make matches that are just poetry in motion. Kenny Omega, Kyle O'Reilly, these are people he has been in the ring with and really just put on clinics. And Ricochet would be one of those guys. I know he's interviewed in the past and said that he would like to go to the NXT roster, and I would grant him that wish, but I couldn't leave him there. He's someone who needs to be on either a Monday Night Raw or a SmackDown because he is electricity every single time he steps in the ring. And finally, the top of our countdown, the #1 independent talent needed to be brought to WWE today is kind of a cheat. It's not one, but two, and that's the Young Bucks. Nick and Matt Jackson are easily the best tag team in the world not currently under the roster of WWE. They need to make an appearance there. They've already expressed that their contracts run for another 18 months. At the end of those contracts, WWE needs to put the full court press on to bring these two in. They need to not miss out on the opportunity to put the Young Bucks in the ring with the Hardys on WWE programming. Put the Young Bucks in the ring with any tag team that they have on the roster, with the New Day, with Gallows and Anderson, with the teams that the Twitter feeds have been on fire to see for several years. The Young Bucks are the #1 talents that need to come to WWE sooner rather than later. What did you think of our list? Is there somebody that we should add? Is there somebody we forgot? Put your suggestion in the comment section below on the YouTube feed. And we look forward to seeing you guys in our next episode.